was a grad student at Cornell, I was pressured right away to specialize. That's typical. It wasn't enough that I wanted to go into physics. Did I want to go into solid state physics, low temperature physics, maybe engineering physics? When I decided on high energy physics, that still wasn't enough. Did I want to go into experimental high energy physics or theoretical high energy physics? And when I decided that, that still wasn't enough. Basically, I had to become a one-trick pony, the world's expert on one little thing. And that's when my eyes were first opened to the dangers of today's era of over-specialization, today's era of the experts, if you will. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So 4 quick dangers. Number 1, the first danger is that experts do not have a broad perspective on complicated situations like today's pandemic. They just don't. Expertise is acquired at the expense of perspective. You can't see the forest for the trees. But here's the problem. Perspective is an essential ingredient for wisdom. So you can be knowledgeable, but not wise. And that's a very big danger, a very big difference. All right. Danger number 2. Experts are not infallible, even though they're often treated that way. They can be wrong, in some cases dead wrong. For example, take April Ferguson over at Imperial College. He is an expert modeler. In mid-March, he came out with a model that predicted that more than 2 million Americans would die from the virus if we didn't shut down our country. And he said more than 500,000 Britons would die if they didn't shut down their country. The model turned out to be dead wrong. He never had it peer-reviewed. And to this day, Ferguson has not published the algorithm behind the model. But it had the support of the World Health Organization, and it was hyped by the press, of course. So the leaders of both the US and the UK felt pressured, scared, into shutting down their countries. And the result is a financial crisis now that could turn out to be worse than the virus itself. All right. Danger number 3. Experts don't always agree. Experts who are equally qualified don't always agree with one another. All right, so for example, Johan Giesecke, who is the chief epidemiologist over in Sweden, has ridiculed all along the whole idea of shutting down a country. He thinks it's stupid. And so he got Sweden to stay open, basically, with reasonable social distancing and forbidding crowds of 50 or more. And then over at Stanford, a Nobel laureate, a biologist, Michael Levitt, says, you know what? Within reason, a country's response, whether to shut down or do something like Sweden, doesn't really matter. Why? Because when he looks at the data, he noticed something very interesting. He noticed that the exponential growth of the virus somehow begins to break down on its own after about 2 weeks. He saw that in different countries around the world. We don't know which expert is going to turn out to be right, Giesecke or Levitt or others. But here's the point. The point is these experts don't agree, so which expert do you listen to? If you're the leader of a country, which expert do you listen to? All right? Danger number 4. Experts can become politicized. And nowadays, unfortunately, tragically, and I hate it, it's very common for experts to be politicized. We see it all the time. So, for example, the Director General over at the World Health Organization has a history of a cozy relationship with China. And he has been parroting from day one the reports coming out of China without criticism, without skepticism. On January 14th, he said, well, the Chinese say that there is no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission. Well, my gosh, that ended up being dead wrong. We now know that not only is there human-to-human transmission, but this virus is extremely contagious, more contagious than the flu. All right? And then on February 3rd, he says, hey, no need to restrict travel between China and other countries and between other countries. No problem here. That ended up being dead wrong. And it wasn't until March 11th that he finally declared the virus a pandemic. March 11th. By then, the genie was out of the box. All right, so look, Unbiased, reliable experts are totally necessary during a crisis. That goes without saying. Where would we be if we didn't have experts developing treatments and vaccines? We would be dead in the water. But the danger is when world leaders give experts too much power, and when a basically scientifically illiterate press hypes the experts and everything that they say and hang on their every word like religious acolytes. And it's also dangerous when gatekeepers like Facebook and YouTube silence people with unconventional opinions about the pandemic, or worse, dare to question the experts about the pandemic. I mean, take a look. Listen to the CEO of YouTube.
But then we also talk about removing information that is problematic. Of course, anything that is medically unsubstantiated. So people saying like, take vitamin C, take turmeric, like those all will cure you. Those are the examples of things that would be a violation of our policy. Anything that would go against World Health Organization recommendations would be a violation of our policy. And so remove is another really important part of our policy.
As a grad student, worried about overspecialization, the danger of expertise, I created the Leonardo da Vinci Society as a way of counteracting that. For me, Da Vinci represents the anti-expert. He is the epitome of the Renaissance man who was able to piece together fragments of disciplines, fragments of expert knowledge into just an unprecedented, magnificent whole. It's actually one of the reasons why I resisted overspecialization and got my PhD in physics, math, and astronomy. That's a whole nother story. But here's the thing. Today's world is crawling with experts. Experts who do not have a broad perspective on complicated situations, who have tunnel vision, basically, all right? Experts who can be wrong, dead wrong in many cases. Experts who squabble among each other, who can't agree. And experts, worst of all, who allow themselves to be tainted by politics. What we need, friend, and especially in a situation like we are in right now, what we need are leaders who are not experts at one little thing, who might not be able to tell you the difference between RNA and DNA, but who can piece together fragments of expertise, fragments of expert knowledge into a coherent whole, into a big picture that they can then evaluate wisely and figure out what to do about it. All right? It's again the difference between expert knowledge and wisdom. We need more Leonardo da Vinci's, especially right now. All right. Well, that's it for now. As always, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and above all, no matter what, friend, stay positive.